Welcome back to BLOCKTV, and you're watching Traders Take, where we break down the crypto charts and get a chance to kind of see what's going on. To do that, we are joined by BLOCKTV's technical analyst, Joe Saz, joining us from New York. How are you, Joe?
Excellent, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're all a little bit confused. Bitcoin was somewhere at like 10.2 on the 28th, not that many days ago, just last Wednesday. Right now we're at 9.6. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so pretty much what's going on is, as I'm watching the action, I'm just going to describe it first, because the really important thing to note is the whole time that this run-up has been going on, I've been asking the question, where's the money coming from? And I think we're nearing the end of the answer to that question being from altcoins and from 2018 sideline money and from stacking sats. I mean, I think we're just simply running out of money. I'm watching the order book on, the exchange that I hate, but the exchange that I trust, Coinbase Pro, and the only thing I trust about them is their numbers. I don't trust anything else, like at all. So anyways, I'm watching and I'm seeing a lot of spoofers really trying to instigate market buyers, because that's like the whole point of spoofing. It's like to flood the order book with support or something like that. You know, let's say that we're trying to push the price up. Spoofers would be trying to flood the order book with massive buy walls of Bitcoin, so that it would instigate market buyers to feel like they're supported if they make this entry, and then the price is going to go up. But spoofing is really having little to no effect on price right now, which is making me very concerned. So let's jump into the charts and just kind of look at the technicals and stuff. But on a fundamental level, if spoofers are unable to instigate market buyers, then and they start to see that, then sellers are going to flip the heck out, and we're going to have continuous repeats of what happened the other day, where we broke down from 10.3, 10.2, whatever it was, all the way down to 95.08 and on to 93.21. So I just see that happening over and over and over again. Maybe there's going to be a whale that wants to put, shake things up in there somewhere. But other than that, I'm not confident in any sort of upside price action just yet. I mean, obviously that could change, but let's look at what we got. So here's the dump right here. This is pretty nasty. I did believe this to be organic and maybe even mixed with a little bit of inorganic activity, but the fact that we continuously were supported and in this ascending fashion by the 10,000 range, low 10,000 range, what that kept doing was adding liquidity to the order book. This is liquidity in the order book. And you can see we got like a 67 buy wall, 30, 42, 57 buy wall, as opposed to very thin liquidity on the sell side, which is pretty typical of Bitcoin, by the way. So we have like a very illiquid order book over here. And what happened was every time we hit this 10K area, more support formed in the order book until finally, and this was my theory, was a whale does not want to sell into an illiquid order book because their average sell is going to be it's going to span a much wider aggregation than it otherwise would if they would sell into a very robust order book. So I think that's kind of what we're doing again. I think we're kind of building some more support in the order book, and I've been watching this for a couple days, and I've seen it go from extremely illiquid to at least something. And I'm assuming they're going to want to try to get it to a bit more than that. But as you can see, we've had a couple of moves to the downside, but we pumped out of them. We had a couple shakeouts to the upside, like liquidity sweeps, and met with some sharp resistance. So we definitely have sellers that are very serious about selling in this area, and we definitely have buyers that are very serious about buying in this area. So we have a little bit of action support in the order book, but we definitely have a lot of overhead resistance, even in the mid $9,000 range, or 9,700 even. So this is bearish to me right now, considering every time that we've pumped, we've re-entered a bearish trend. Pumped and then continued on a bearish trend. That's really bad for the price, and that kind of makes me think that long story short, it makes me feel like since they're not instigating that many market buyers, sellers are just going to start competing to sell at some point, and I think we're going to get from bad to worse pretty quickly. And
but a more short-term view over the next couple of days, what do you think we're going to be seeing?
So that's a great question, and this is where we're at right now. Within this descending triangle, we are in an accelerated trend to the downside. And you can see that we've been supported here by the bottom of the descending triangle twice, but we didn't reject the heck out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I would like to see something like this, where we had a low complete reversal hammer rejection and we just fly the frick out of there. Like this, we got out like crazy. We had a 10% move to the upside after testing this for 2 days, maybe on the third, and then we bounce out 10%. Now, I just don't see buyers buying, and that's like the most important thing you need for any asset, right? And if all I see are spoofers trying to instigate action, then and none of it happens, then what I'm inclined to think is we top out here, and we potentially break out of this descending triangle, which could have gone on back to 11.2 and back to 9,000 and back to 10.8 or something. I think we might be breaking out a little bit sooner, breaking down a little bit sooner, I should say. And my first support area that I'd be looking for is probably the mid 7Ks. I think we're going to take the moving averages seriously, because keep in mind, I think that we're left with the space of traders trading. I don't think that there's any FOMO money, and I also don't think that there was any FOMO money in this run-up. I think, like I said, the money might have been some altcoin exodus money, but that didn't happen. And let's look at when this happened. Okay, so let's bust out a date here. Altcoin exodus. Oh no. Oh darn it. Let's see. BTC.D. Let's just look at when altcoin exodus really happened. Let's say it must have been around June when the altcoin exodus happened. Let's just compare this with one, just so that we're not like flooding our thing. I know we're on the fly right now. Ethereum.dominance. Whoops, that's F. Okay, so we really saw the flipping, let's say begin around May, mid-May, continue on. Bitcoin started gaining dominance relative to everything losing dominance. And by everything, I mean Ethereum's probably the highest by market cap next to Bitcoin. So we're just putting Ethereum, we're making Ethereum a representation of all the other altcoins right now. And we saw an acceleration of altcoin exodus in July, early July. So I think we're running low on money there. And I'll pop back to the daily.
And what do you mean when you say, can you just clarify that when you say we're running low on money? Because you're saying that only traders, you think that only traders are in this game currently. What does it mean that we're running out of money?
Okay, good. Yeah, so let's say that we're talking about different pools, right? Like a target or something where you have different levels of circles. And so trader money is like the smallest pool, right? That accounts typically in an organic market space. A traded asset is about 2 to 5% of the asset is traded, and that's what defines the price. So traders are a very, very small amount of people that make up a lot of price, but it's still a very small group of people determining that. The thing with Bitcoin that we need in order for there to be a big breakout would be, probably the third ring out from that shortest ring, being organic FOMO, like something that happened in 2017, or countries that are actually capital, in capital flight mode and using Bitcoin as their store of value medium of exchange. But we don't have that. The block broke the news that despite Google Trends revealing that there was no interest in, well, very, very low interest in Bitcoin and this parabolic run up relative to 2017, and then people kept saying, oh, well, it's all about China and capital flight and XYZ. Well, the block broke a story using like Chinese search engines to prove that Bitcoin was completely insignificant over there as well. So we have this like very robust global data saying that there's no interest in Bitcoin or how to buy Bitcoin. Yet we had this steep run up, which I've been calling manipulation, almost since the beginning. And so to top that off, that's the only money that was fueling this. There might have been the sideline money, and there might be some altcoin exodus money.
But then my question is this. So last week we spoke with yourself and Socrates, and the gist of that, the bottom line of that was that within the next couple of weeks, and mind you, this was a week ago, right? So within the next couple of weeks, we have to keep an eye out. We could potentially go to the upside. If we do, we're good. But if we break down, we're toast. Where do you think we are at currently, and how long would you wait before you said that's it, we're going down?
Yeah. Right now we're closer to burnt toast, but with Bitcoin, I wouldn't be surprised if we dance around, like I said, in that descending triangle a bit more. Bitcoin has a tendency to die slowly. There's a lot of hope. There's no investor-asset relationship like in any history of any asset like there is with Bitcoin. I mean, I've spoken to tons of people about this, and I've asked, like, one of my main questions that I ask people that have been trading Wall Street for decades is, have you ever seen an investor-asset relationship like Bitcoin? And the answer is always no. So when you have a potential for a breakdown area or something like that, it can easily turn around because there's so much hope associated with this, and people can play into that, and that becomes a predictable pattern. So could we revisit the top of the descending triangle at around $11,200? Absolutely, that's on the table. But until I'm confident that we're going to break that accelerated trend line within my on my daily chart within this, I mean, Bitcoin, as you can see, we could absolutely bounce right back up here and bounce right. We can shred the 50 MA, bounce up here, kill this horizontal resistance area from here to here. We can definitely do that, but I just don't see buyers buying, and that's what's going to cause the price to move up, obviously, right? It's like the most basic thing. But if spoofers in the order book are like flooding the book with all these buys, and then there's no momentum to follow that, then it's going to look ugly. And it looks like we're starting a little bit of a breakdown. But anyways, I think that I'm actually not convinced. I wouldn't say we're good if we make it to the top of this triangle. I would just say that the descending triangle is going to extend a bit longer. I'm not going to say we're good until probably this area up here or this area up here, until we make a distinct higher high than this, and even a higher high than this. That would really change my bearish outlook. That would just be a humongous wild card. So we're looking at least a move, a daily close above 12.5 to 12.6. And that would change my perspective from very bearish, which we are right now. We're in this very tight space, and we're going super neutral. I mean, we're talking and look at the volume relative to this candle. This candle right here, you can see, has no, like the first one that you can visibly see here, has absolutely no volume, yet it accounts for 0.19% price action of the body, yet a low of 94.36 and a high of 97.07. So we cover a $300 spread from top to bottom, and we fought it in both directions. So this is what the liquidity that I'm talking about in the order book and how illiquid it was. We were fighting a $300 spread going up and down until we finally made it into a very neutral spinning top, yet we have absolutely no volume there. The day prior, we had a low of 93.37, high of 97, so actually pretty similar price action, but about triple the volume, double the volume. So the fact is we're decreasing in volume. We're in a very concerning space, and I'm inclined to think that we're going to break down sooner than later. But the second we close above this accelerated trend line, or at least try to fight this 50 MA like we did back here, that's when I'll maybe switch positions to, all right, a bounce is in play. But right now, I'm very neutral, and I do not see a bounce in play yet. And then Bitcoin, that can change any minute. So that's why I encourage people to pay attention to like my Telegram group, which is now the easiest way to get updates on my thoughts. But obviously, it's just a very tough market to call right now, and I'm concerned for Bitcoiners.
So we have to kind of keep hold and keep looking out for what's going on there, just so we have a clearer vision, although you don't seem optimistic at all, but that's where we are as a space right now, and it's important to note. But I would like to, we know this, that when Bitcoin breaks down, everything else goes down with it. Just a moment ago, you used Ethereum as a comparison, and I think we should take a look at Ethereum. There's been a lot of hype. Yeah. It's in the headlines a bunch now, when compared to Telegram's open network. They kind of blatantly said we're going for Ethereum. That's the competition right now. So it's curious to see what's going on there.
Yeah, so let's check ETH, and I also thought it might be fun to go down memory lane a bit and take a look at BSB. I think we might see something funny there. Now, Ethereum, as we all know, broke down violently from the 50 MA, didn't find support, and still really haven't found support. We have a long-standing setup trend line, but I'm not going to put too much money on that. I don't put any money on Ethereum, but let's see. Relative to the US dollar, we're reaching a bearish crossover of the 50 and 200 moving averages. That is the intermediate, the short and long-term moving averages. We've already had a crossover, a bearish crossover, a death cross of the 50 125, and you can see there's been some downside action since then. So I'm not going to believe anything other than continued bearish activity will ensue this bearish crossover, which is going to be much more like typically. I don't really know too many traders that put too much emphasis on the bearish or bullish crossovers of the short and intermediate term. It's really short and long-term moving averages that get very dangerous, and maybe even intermediate and long-term. The long-term moving average is very important. The fact that we're trading well beneath it and we're just struggling this area, our 9 buy was very weak. We had a 1 candle pullback. So far it's responding to negative action. I think it's very possible Ethereum continues this descent, and it just looks terrible for them. I just want to take a weekly look. I mean, we all know relative to Bitcoin, everything's crashing, so let's just stick with US dollar for now. But we're approaching a weekly 9 buy on Ethereum. That could mean something. It could mean absolutely nothing. We can just fly through a 9 buy into another 9 count. So I'm not taking that off the table, but we are struggling with the 50 MA on Ethereum. And if we close below it, I think any bullish narrative is going to be really hard. It's not going to be very convincing. So Ethereum's looking very bearish in my eyes, and I guess the price target, mid to long term is probably midterm is 80, long term is 0. Short term, we could very well find support in these areas, but I just don't really see anything significant. I mean, this support was resistance. It kind of was support here. So you can see we topped out here, and that would be resistance. We fought it and lost again. Then when we broke above it, it became support. So you can kind of see that line here, and this is not very convincing. I'm just looking for a narrative right now that could support any sort of considered support in the area. So this is me stretching, okay, to try to find support for Ethereum. So, and I guess coincidentally, it is very close to the setup trend line. So I think we could find support somewhere in the 150-ish area, but I'm not going to. I'm not shorting Ethereum. Like a lot of people ask me, yo, Joe, like, you play Bitcoin. Are you shorting altcoins because you're, a Bitcoin maximalist and you think everything's going to zero? The answer is no, because I don't know them. I don't have a relationship to how that asset really moves, So I don't play games that I don't know. And in the altcoin space, especially, anything can turn on a dime in cryptocurrency in general, especially with altcoins, especially with like altcoins in the corner of the market that fly up 300% and then exit scam. So I mean, anything can happen. I'm not going to do that like short Ethereum or Litecoin. Not that I don't believe that they're going down, but I don't believe in playing games. Like the last thing you want to do when you go to a casino with $100 and the intent to turn it into 1,000 is to go to some random table where there's no one at it and it's a brand new game that no one's heard of, and you're going to sit there with the $100 and ask the dealer to teach you the game while he's taking your money. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't touch alts.
No, absolutely. But you did a moment ago say that you wanted to go take a walk down memory lane with BSV. So let's do that as our last coin for today.
Let's do that. BSV. Dollar. That's kind of what I wanted. We could look at this relative to dollar. All right. On a weekly chart, it's looking pretty bad. Well, this was that one. Let's see here. This is definitely, we're descending. We have a distinct, like, violently downward moving trend line. I was more concerned with how this acted in the wake of
Craig Wright losing.
Yeah, Craig Wright. Didn't really get anything out of that. Oh man, I was really hoping I'd see like a humongous red candle.
Yeah, but it kind of feels like in general, if the sphere was with it before, then why should they not? I mean, this kind of proves what we know, that everybody knows who he is for real. And this didn't change that. It means that we were operating under the assumption of he actually is who he is. Nobody was under any sort of facade.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. This is actually very anticlimactic. Oh man. So I guess this is gonna be the most boring note that I've ever ended an episode on. BSV didn't die yet. CSW didn't, get thrown in jail for perjury, and BSV hasn't gone to zero or even close to it. I was really expecting that something in that news would instigate some sort of selling activity. Yeah, well, all we have, and that's just further proof that all we have left are hodlers. We have no buyers. And that's even, extrapolate that to the wider space, which, I believe is the case. And, without buyers, it'll become a competition to sell. So, and without, anyways.
Well, kind of last question, since we didn't get our walk down memory lane, I do want to ask you, as the market is deteriorating at this point, we did get to a point where we were at an all-time high. We made it back down. Bitcoin was at 3,200. Do you see a future where this technology and cryptocurrencies do not exist?
No, well, yeah, that future would be very dark, though. That future is like Gestapo level type, terrible, door-to-door kicking down, Bitcoiners like that. Like the alternative to Bitcoin existence is really dark. And do I see that happening? It's a possibility, but I just I mean, in the United States, we got, I think 180 million guns, the population. I just think it would be a very interesting move to see the government go from free market to, and especially relating to an asset that has all these very positive political and economic implications for the people. And it would be pretty interesting to see an oppressive regime be born of that. So I think that in the event that Bitcoin doesn't work out, the alternative is only because something very, very terrible happened, and that's not even really a space that that is like, this is just bad. It's very bad in that potential future.
And with that very dark trader's take, where I'm sure you put smiles on nobody's faces, Mr. Joe Saz, I'm sorry to say that to you. I'd like to thank you very much for breaking that down for us, and we'll obviously keep updating throughout the week. But for all of you folks at home watching at blocktv.com, keep on watching for more blockchain and cryptocurrency news.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.